Good morning, everyone. House got quiet. It's just my brother-in-law and I here for a few days. Yeah, one would think. I think I mentioned this before. You live so far out. We're the last ones on top of a big old mountain, and then for it's over a half mile to our house. Then on our driveway, and so we're really alone here. It takes gosh, for people from town, it's at least 25 to 30 minutes, depending on where they live, sometimes even more, to get to our house just from town. But we always have visitors here. Gosh, it hasn't really slowed down over the couple of years of COVID. We just about had to lock our gate. Right? Yeah. Well, we didn't. Yeah. Still, yeah. Hey, it's COVID time. What are you doing here? uh, People coming and going. Yeah, it was amazing. I never caught COVID during that time. Nobody did here. Um, and then when all the bans were lifted or whatever, it's that. I actually caught it from someone who was vaccinated, got boosted, and all that jazz, and she got it, and sure enough, I got it, and it was, even though I'm not vaccinated or anything, um, I didn't get. It wasn't bad. It was kind of like a cold and a little bit of not even. Felt a little rough for a few days, and then that was that. Oh, how did I know? Well, she had to get tested because she's out there, and sure enough, she had it. And I'm going, well, I had to have the same thing. People says you need to test. I'm going, what for? I already know what I got. uh, I'm quite well uh, smart enough to make the deductions on what I got now, right? So no need to use a test, right? They're not cheap either. Well, anyway, so and then like, well, you need to know when you're over it, and it's never going to. I think I know when I'm over something too. Dear me, come on now, everyone. So we had. I'm going to mention that anyway here. So yeah, we had a interesting little thing. A little, it was a big thing actually. Uh, a couple of guys here decided that they wanted to fix up an old car. And there was a specific problem with that car. One thing was it would catch fire underneath. But, well, it's a guy thing. You don't get in the way of guy things, I'm telling you guys. But figured out something else why the nagging of women is important when it comes to the guys. And the guys should pay a little more attention to it. Yes, I say, if a woman stops nagging you, your wife stops nagging you, she stops caring. Guys got to remember that. It's a kind of true. As long as they nag you, they have the best. They worry about you. They want to protect you. Yes? Okay. And don't take it lightly. So they're fixing up this car, and they had a great time doing it too. You could tell they were really kind of united, doing what they were doing, and guys just enjoy that kind of stuff. Okay, that's what it is. And okay, but back of our minds, not just me, other people too, who've been in that car when it did catch fire. Just underneath, it wasn't a big deal, but then I drove just to the gate and back, by my youngest one, no big deal, to catch the bus. Anyway, it was fine. And then something else happened when I said, okay, time to park that car. But it wasn't ours, so you can't just get rid of it. So 10 years later, they're starting to fix up this car. It's just, gosh, whatever. And so it's ready. They took it out Saturday. So it's ready to go to 10. So my husband stands there and he says, "We're going to take the fire extinguisher with us and we're going to go buy one to have in the car." And I'm going, man, if you have to do that, and I go, guys, this is not a good idea. It's not a good idea. Just be careful, okay? Okay. So about 2 hours, 3 hours later, I guess they got everything done in town. Everything went fine. And we have these big hills. Okay. Coming home. Cece gets a call from one of the guys. "We're just down at the last neighbor's." So it's about another mile and a half. "We're just down at the last neighbor's. We just turned the curve and we're going up the hill." He says, "Well, if anything happens, let me know." She gets off the phone, goes do something, and it wasn't a minute later. Phone rings again. Runs to the phone. "Call our neighbor down there. Call that one neighbor. We got an emergency here. Car's on fire." It's just started, right? And well, where are you? Same place, exact same place where that car caught fire already before, and underneath. And she tried to call the neighbor and couldn't. Nobody was home. This and that. And she says, "Hey," I was upstairs. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" "The car's on fire." I said, how's the guys? "They're fine. They're fine." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Call the fire department. What are you doing?" You know, and she says, "I got to get down there with the fire extinguisher." I said, "Well, they have that with them." "No, they don't." I said, "They didn't take it." Yeah, okay. Dear me. Anyway, so she calls the fire department or 911, and they say, okay. And she goes, she is in a tizzy. I said, "Okay, you need to calm down. You can't drive like this." I said, "Good, we're going to have another emergency. You being down the hill somewhere with your car because you're in such a rush and such a tizzy now, right?" So she said, okay. So calm down. I sent a prayer with her. And I said, "Okay, you'll get there when you get there. Just slow down." She gets there. Anyway, long story short, not only did the car catch fire, but they just filled the tank full with gas. And it didn't take long, and the fire department, as I said, "Where do we live here?" The whole car was engulfed in flames within no time. And it's a one-lane road. And uh, thank God it had just rained as much as it rained. But remember the wind I was mentioning yesterday? It dried a lot of things out. And the fire department got there just in time, and the fire started to go down the hill, right? And they contained it pretty quickly. But I thought when I was told, I thought, "Oh, a few leaves caught fire." No. Yeah. And then, well, needless to say, thank God everybody was okay. The guys had their hands burned a little bit, had some burns on their hands, but that was that. Uh, Saved the gas can to run our generator and saved that out of the car. What a story to tell. They had to literally let the car burn because there's too much gas involved. And the fire department just made sure that the fire wasn't going anywhere else. Um, and then it was just hauled off. That's it. I'm looking up there now. There used to be 3 cars sitting there. Then it got to 2, and then it got to 1. And now I have a clear view of our driveway here to the bed. There's no more cars sitting there. Done. Yes. Of course, that was very devastating for the owner of the car. Put money into it, this and that, all that time. Excited to fix it up, have an extra car. I said yesterday, listen to God's directions. If some certain things happen, you have to just give in and say, okay, this is it for, right? And yet, right, we could have lost two people we love very much. And they're okay. And there was one thing that, one wanted to say, you wanted to say, I told you so. You just don't listen. I told you so. This was a bad idea. No. And it was interesting. I told my husband, I said, I said, one thing that somehow came to my mind is you guys should be grateful when your wives and women in your life nag at you and tell you this is not a good idea. You're not having your head straight on right now. Just listen to what I'm telling you, right? And how yes, kind of an important thing it is for us women to nag the guys. Oh, because they can't make decisions for themselves. As I said, certain things are just guy things, and yeah, to see them so happily working on that car and be excited about it. Yet the dangers were lurking there. Anyway, they're okay. Everybody's okay. Nobody got more hurt than, as I said, the hands. And I think my husband did have some second-degree burns, but we took care of that. He'll suffer for the next 2 or 3 days a little, and my brother-in-law the same. But anyway, so there it is. But what a story. And again, the blessing in disguise. That car didn't need to be on the road anymore. Done. That car could have hurt people. It could have exploded somewhere where more people were around. With people in the car. All kinds of things. Interesting thing. The interesting thing about it is that the car burned up exactly in the spot where it already caught fire twice before. Not as, but okay, there you go. What a story, right? All right, let's get to. I tell you what, gotta thank God for there is protection there. You can't avoid every disaster, this and that, but if things go in the way they did with this car, you got protection around you, right? Yes? Okay. All right. We're in Numbers 10, the trumpets. Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, make yourself 2 trumpets. Make them of beaten silver, so that you can use them for summoning the community. What? Yeah, I'd say that makes a pretty good sound. And for sounding the order to break camp. Whenever they are sounded, the whole community must gather round you at the entrance to the tent of meeting. But if only one trumpet is sounded, then only the leaders and the heads of Israel's thousands must gather around you. Oh, dear me, can you imagine? The last camp, how far out would that be, right? We're talking hundreds of thousands of people here, right? Yes? Okay. I wondered how far it was to walk to do that first. When the trumpet blast is accompanied by a battle cry, the encampments pitched to the east will set out. At the second blast, accompanied by a battle cry, the encampments pitched to the south will set out. Look how organized they are. For breaking camp, the trumpet blast will be accompanied by a battle cry. But for assembling the community, the trumpets will be sounded without battle cry. Oh. The Aaronite priests will sound the trumpets. This is a perpetual decree for you and your descendants. When in your country you go to war against an enemy who is oppressing you, you will sound trumpets with a battle cry. Oh, hey, wait a second. Oh, this is interesting. This doesn't sound like this was part of that time. When was that put in there? Oh, okay, all right. Well, people can look at this any way you want to, but what I'm reading right now is this is like an explanation given after, and the reason why. Okay, okay, I see. Maybe you guys see. I see. Okay, and Yahweh, your God, will remember you, and you will be delivered from your enemies. At your festival, solemnities, solemnities. That's a hard word, M and N. I didn't grow up with an M and N. And new moon feasts sound. You will sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and communion sacrifices, so that they recall you to the remembrance of your God. I am Yahweh, your God. Oh, interesting. Trumpets. That's the first time they mentioned trumpets. Huh. Yeah. The sound of trumpets. It's all through the Bible. I guess this is where it started, but for what reason? That was my thought right there. The battle cry. Okay, how many people had to do that? Right? After just one person or several people? And so it went through the. Oh, was it? Okay, there was the trumpet sound. Was the battle cry there too? Did you hear? Did you hear or did you not? Okay, I'm not sure if I heard it or not. Okay, so I have to be very clear. Again, people have certain strengths. Yes. Some people have a really loud voice. I have a really loud voice. If I want to, I have a really loud voice. When I was young, it was even louder. Okay, I could. Okay, whistling. That's a loud sound. But while I was even a child, okay, I was 10, 12 or something. Uh, Oftentimes, we went on vacation to one of our uncles that had farms and in the mountains. And in order to get them to come home for sferi, which is like an afternoon snack before dinner, for them to come back down and have a break and man, mountain farm work is that's heavy work. It's really heavy work. You lose a lot of you sweat and you lose a lot of nutrients and vitamins just by doing that and this. So you need these breaks. Okay, that's safer to have these breaks because again, mountain farm work is dangerous. That's another thing. You got to have your head straight on, and so my aunt would send me out, says, okay, holler him back down. So I either would whistle or I would holler, and I could really holler. Yes. So would, for the battle cries, would people be chosen that talk like this, and they just, even if they holler, they just can't? I see that with my sister-in-law. She tries to call for the horses and the dogs, this and that, and her voice is about half the volume that mine is. No, it's just the way it is. Not everybody has, but people get annoyed. Either way, people get annoyed when people don't speak up, and there's speak up, and well, that's what you've got microphones for now, right? And then be quiet while you're listening, and then you can hear just fine, right? And then people get annoyed. When I talk, sometimes I get so excited that I get louder and louder because hey, I can hear you. Yes, I know that, but I'm still excited. Yeah, so people get annoyed when you have a loud voice. I think if we like in here, I'm going again. There's a reason why people have a quieter voice, right? Yes, yeah, and have a louder voice for certain things to do. At that time, it was important to have a loud voice. To gather everybody together for after the trumpet sound. So surely they probably chose 5 or 6, maybe 10 people with a good loud voice. Okay, all together now. Right? And the whole camp could hear the battle cry. No problem. Right? Yes. And then knew, okay, this is what's going on. Right? Yes? So, again, someone with a more softer voice, a quieter voice, and that's kind of, even when I talk quiet, I still feel the volume within my voice. Okay, I'm probably not someone that will put someone to sleep easily, right? Yes, when it comes to that. No, I'm always surprised when I talk and talk and talk, and I look over and going, my brother-in-law just fell asleep. I said, oh, okay, boring enough. All right. And but to appreciate someone with a calmer voice, this calmer voice, probably a soothing voice, right? Really good for someone who's not feeling well, right? A child that's not feeling well, or so wound up that it needs a calm voice to calm down the child so it'll take its nap or go to sleep at night. Right? Yes, all that noise. Okay, noise, as in man-generated noise. Right? When it comes to all that, it's very difficult for children to absorb and digest that noise. Right? It just stays there. Right? So I think it's very important that in evening time, I remember we wouldn't have any music on, we wouldn't have any TV on or anything, right? Everybody got ready for bed, this and that, da, 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 and then we had story time, and my children went to sleep pretty quick, easily, right? Yes. Yeah. So, anywho, uh, and then, so to appreciate that, even if, rather than complain, you're not loud enough, or you're not, I can't hear. What did you say? I can't hear. And uh, and then people who have a louder voice appreciate that too. It's like, man, they're gonna come in handy if there's nothing else there. Yet their cry, hey, watch out! Da, da, da. It's loud enough to give you a warning. Yeah, I'm just saying. So interesting here on what we're getting. I like this. Again, it's just, I said, reading through the Bible, some things are just, what? Nothing to do with God. I don't believe that. But then other things, it's like teaching us the reasons for why we're so different. Everybody's a little different. There's not one person exactly the same out there as another, right? Yes? So amazing. I made a meal yesterday, and my husband says, man, that was good again. He says, I'm just amazed. All these years of cooking, and I think I've never really tasted anything twice the same when you cook. And and this just reminded me on how every person's a little different. You're never going to get exactly the same person twice, right, in your life. And on how amazing God could God could even now. Every baby born has its own little traits, own little, still a different combination of a person than anyone that's ever lived before, right? Yes, pretty amazing, right? Yes. So, the other thing too, if you'd ask me to repeat something exactly in the same way that I've cooked it, I probably wouldn't be able to do it because I can't remember all what I put in, what I had with me at the time. It's the same for God. Is I bet that again, if you just concentrate on, when I concentrate on making a dish, I look what I got and going, oh yeah, that would be. I think that would be good together. This, that, you know. And I have a feeling it's the same for God. He looks at it, oh, whoop, a new seed and a man and a woman just got together and oh, something happened. Oh, I got a new little human being. Uh, that's about to become, start to grow this and that, and oh, and he puts the best of him again into a new human being, right? Yes, still in the womb, this and that. And it's never exactly the same as the one before, and before, and before, right? Yes? Isn't that something? I know. I say, you start to think a little bit about these things and you're going, whew, what an amazing God we have. And on how these traits are within ourselves as well, right? Yes? Anyway. Okay. I could go on and on and on and on about that. The order of March. In the second year, in the second month, on the 20th day of the month, the cloud rose from where the dwelling of the testimony was. Man, that must have been just an amazing day for them. Finally, we're moving on. We're going. Wow. And the Israelites set out in marching order from the desert of Sinai. The cloud came to rest in the desert of Paran. Oh, how far away was that? Oh, let's go find out. I'm going to find out. From Sinai to Paran. Where's my... See, if I don't write this down, I'll forget about it. I have other things to do all day long, then I'll forget about what I wanted to... Okay. Maybe they'll tell us, and then I don't need to do this. But if they don't, then I'll have my backup. Oh, get this out of here. These were the men who set out in the vanguard at Yahweh's order through Moses. First went the standard of the camp of the Judahites and their units, with Nahshon, son of Amminadab, commanding that contingent. Nethanel, son of Zuar, commanding the tribal contingent of the Issacharites, and Eliab, son of Helon, commanding the tribal contingent of the Zebulunites. The dwelling was then dismantled, and the Gershonites and Merarites set out, carrying the dwelling. Then came the standard of the camp of the Reubenites and their units, with Elizur, son of Shedeur, commanding that contingent. Shelumiel, son of Surishadai, commanding the tribal contingent of Simeonites, and Eliasaph, son of Ruel, commanding the tribal contingent of the Gadites. Then came the Kohathites, carrying the sanctuary. The dwelling was erected before they arrived. Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Oh, that was not carried together. Oh. Huh. Okay. Then came the standard of the camp, Elishama, son of Ammihud, commanding that contingent. Gamaliel, son of Pedashur, commanding the tribal contingent of the Manasseites, and Abidan, son of Gideoni, commanding the tribal contingent of the Benjamites. Last of all, the rear guard of all the camps came the standard of the camp of Danites and their units, with Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai, commanding that contingent. Pagiel, son of Akron, commanding the tribal contingent of the Asherites, and Ashira, son of Enon, commanding the tribal contingent of the Naphtalites. Still reminds me of that soap. Naphtha soap. Huh. I wonder if they got that from there. NAFTA. Never heard of NAFTA otherwise before. You mix that with borax and Arm & Hammer laundry detergent, and it's 3 components, and then you can make a 5-gallon bucket. With very little, you can make a 5-gallon bucket of laundry detergent. Costs about $2 a bucket. Lasts for a long time. And it does a good job. Such was the order of march for the Israelites, unit by unit, so they set out. Man, that must have been like I said, we're not talking 20 people, 30 people, not even 100 people. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people. Okay. Now, so they set out of out of Egypt with 600,000 men, right? Not including the women and the children. Okay. Now it's 2 years later. Yes. I wonder. Right? At least 1.5 million by now, right? At least. And they all said, man, that must have been quite something. And so organized. So organized. Moses' proposal to Hobab. Moses said to Hobab, son of Ruel, Hobab. Was he ever mentioned before? Hobab. He must have been if he's the son of Ruel. The Midianite. Oh. His father-in-law. Oh. Well, he must have been mentioned if it sounds like it's Moses' father-in-law. We are setting out for the country of which Yahweh has said, I shall give it to you. What? Come with us, and we will treat you well, for Yahweh has promised good things for Israel. I will not come with you, he replied, but shall go to my own country and kin. Do not leave us, Moses said, for you know where we can camp in the desert, and so you will be our eyes. Oh, wait a second. If you come with us, we shall share with you whatever blessings Yahweh gives us. Wait a second now. Wait. Wait a minute. What just happened here? Did you guys just get this? He says, come with us and we will treat you well, for Yahweh has promised good things for it. I will not come with you, Hobab says. He replied, but shall go to my own country and kin. Moses says, do not leave us, for you know where we can camp in the desert, and so you will be our eyes. Wait a second, what happened with the cloud? Coming and lifting and... Oh, that was just for when to stay and when to depart, but it wasn't giving direction. Wasn't the cloud going ahead of them as well? Aha, you see? It's written down in the way it is written down, and it's got these, I guess it has to have these mysteries in it. God just had to stay a mystery to the people. Why is that? Why does God have to stay a mystery to people? Why are God misrepresenting God out there? Why are they doing that? It's never for anyone but their own gain. Okay? It's always like that. Always. Here now we're getting, wait a second. No, they had guides. They actually had guides. Okay, now I'm saying, well, so you don't believe? Of course I believe that God guided and directed his people. Okay? I also believe, though, right, due to the fact that we're all being given a heart to mind, a conscience, this, that, we think, okay, that the people in charge to move all the Israelites were of really sound mind, of really good mind. And they had a relationship, a special relationship with God. Yes? Yet, in order for the people to follow, you still had to have something mysterious about it. The people couldn't just say, hey, we got out of Egypt. Okay, with a lot of complainers, but we got out of there. So we've got to just have faith in our leader. We got to have faith in the people who, right, until something happens, like, for example, they always have, well, we can't do the Passover. We wanted to do the Passover too, just now because we had to bury some people. Now we're kind of, And they amended and said, okay, you can still do it on this day, on that month, and you get to do that. You're not going to be excluded. It's just in order to keep the purity of the ceremony, and because those were, okay, for one reason or other, directions from God for, yeah, okay, it has to be done this way. But interestingly enough, wait a minute, what happened to the cloud now suddenly? And did he go with him? Let's find out. Well, anyway, so there it is, right? They had to have someone, and Hobab seemed to be a tracker. Was a good. That's what you knew the desert. Old enough, was Moses' father-in-law, so he had to be quite up there in age. Okay, but that was interesting. Wait a second. Oh, okay. So one could come to all kinds of different conclusions, this and that. But as I said, good organizational skills, this and that, to keep things orderly, cleaned up, this and that, right? Makes for a good community. Okay, all right, all right. The departure. They set out from Yahweh's mountain and traveled for 3 days, while the ark of the covenant of Yahweh preceded them on the 3 day journey, searching out a place for them to halt. Oh, now we went back to. Okay. Okay, now here's another thing. We already know how the camp was taken down and where the ones that were carrying all the stuff from the tent of meeting, where they were. So they were not preceding them. That should have been somewhere in the middle. Oh, okay. As I said, it is what it is, right? We know it happened. They did travel from somewhere to somewhere. That's good enough for me. It made a difference. God had to start somewhere with some people. So there we go. And then knowing the people again. Yes. What I say, with the quiet voice and the loud voice, right? You still see the good in it rather than just be annoyed by either one, right? Yes. So, and know the difference. Clear-headed. Be clear-headed when it comes to these kind of things. All right. And at that time, Yahweh's cloud was over them. Once they had broken camp, whenever the ark set out, Moses would say, "Rise, Yahweh, may your enemies be scattered, and those who hate you flee at your approach." Flee at your approach. Let's see that one more time. Rise, Yahweh, may your enemies be scattered, and those who hate you flee at your approach. And when it halted, he would say, "Come back, Yahweh, to the countless thousands of Israel." That's the end of 10. So, again, when it comes down to it, Moses is the one that seems to have this relationship with God that somehow just knew when to do what and what to give to the people. And that is that. Yes, at that time. One can have absolutely a very close relationship with God in spirit. It's absolutely possible. It just depends on where sometimes people take that, right? Yes. So Moses, no doubt, in my mind, right, when it comes to down to all of it, had that relationship. Somehow that was just there. Right? It was in the makeup of Joseph, and it always was like that. Right? Of course, Moses too had to be trained, but Moses, in a way, became really fine-tuned to God's desires. God's wishes for his people, and communion with his people. And so again, Moses is the one who directs God and calls him back, and what? Right? Yes? How is that put in there? I think, again, if one were to want to prove the non-existence of God, one could use a passage like that very easily to say, you guys are very, very conflicted when it comes to who's actually in charge, because it clearly says who's in charge, and who knows about that cloud, because what? In that last part, what's Moses actually doing? He is directing the cloud, is he not? Yeah. But if one wants to find unity with the stories in the Old Testament, on how the relationship, how God has tried to establish a relationship with what he created, mankind, and how it was done, then the guidance that Moses was able to give through the directions that he was getting, yes, the sixth sense is not a bogus thing. It just depends on how one utilizes that type of gift, that type of talent. I think that eventually, well, I know what it says later on, and maybe I should save it for that, when Moses never made it to Canaan. And again, there are people out there who want to look at that in a really negative light, like Moses failed or this or that. That's why he didn't, and God said, and it's like, really? So, because of like one miscommunication or suddenly everything else that Moses had done for the Israelites, and the world, he's one of our forefathers, that suddenly, that one little thing outweighs this amount of great things that Moses had done. Yes? Yeah? Okay. Interesting. I've always found it interesting when people think like that, or feel that they have the right to. Okay, just saying. So anyway, so there it is, right? Yes, there's a little bit of discrepancies going on there, but really, when it comes down to it, yes, I feel also in a way God really truly believe, people really truly believe, this is God's word. Well, if you really truly believe that, then you should also know that he will make sure that the proper content will be in there, to give you pause, to give you thought, and say, oh, of course. If you rely just on these fabricated miracles to believe and have faith and count on them for yourself, then what kind of religion are you actually under? One can't walk through life. Okay, the miracles that I see out there, certain things that I have experienced, have seen. What did I mention about the car, right? And to begin with, on everything that happened around that car, and on how everybody's okay, everyone's all right. The only thing that got seriously damaged, done with, is the car that should have never been out on the road again. Right? Yes? Okay. Just saying. Right? That's a miracle in itself right there. But we're not looking for miracles like that. Most people would call it this a disaster, right? That's a bad thing. That was oh my God. Yeah. But is it? don't need that cloud in the external to guide us, to know when to step back, to know when to move forward. We have that within ourselves. It's called a conscience. It's called the five spiritual senses. And if we are connected to that greater power and strength that is the creator, then we'll do right in our life with the little setbacks and with our successes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, are you someone out there that needs that cloud visible because it's a hey, that shows God. Oh, God. Or are you willing to look around you? Do I need the guidance? Where can I get the guidance that I need, really, truly need? And it's most likely going to be another person. And if you pray about it, ask God for direction and guidance, you will come across the right people. And then it's up to you to listen, to learn, be willing to learn, and maybe you'll be the teacher. Yes? Okay. Well, anyway. So there we go. We get into interesting, all kinds of different things when we start to read these passages. But let's say it one more time. Moses, our father, Father Moses, forefather Moses, thank you for all the work that you did with the Israelites. Yes? I'm going to stay with that. I think it'll benefit me greater than complaining about him. Yes, yes, yes. All right. God's love and blessings always. May he protect you, and I will talk to you another time.